Not one, not two, but three audience questions and a very, very sad happy birthday today. All this and more right now with me, Rolene Marks, on the Israel Brief, where I bring you those top stories making the headlines in Israel. I do this every Monday to Thursday with these guys, lay of the land. And as always, I have your audience question, and today we have a bumper edition. And tomorrow, being Thursday, means I bring you your choices of this week's mentions and morons, and the names are coming in. That's why I love you guys. You love a homework assignment almost as much as I do. Kathy Miller, I haven't forgotten your big homework assignment. I have a lot of information to read through, and I want to distill it into a simple an explanation as possible, but I will get it to you soon as possible. So with that said, let's dive right in. And we begin with the Gaza deal. Now, last week we had that announcement from the White House that they had reached a deal, or rather that Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad had agreed to disarm. Now, when you read the fine print, you see something else. You see that one of the ideas was for the weapons that Hamas have to be moved to a warehouse. That's not going to cut it. Disarm, means no weapons at all. And you know, we've heard from Hamas saying that they will not disarm until Israel has withdrawn. Israel currently is operational within what we call the Yellow Line area, which is a significant buffer zone between the border with the Otef, that's the Gaza envelope. Those are the communities that were attacked on the 7th of October. If you recall, Hamas and their cohorts came through many different points along that strip of borderland. And at the moment, even though there is a ceasefire in place, a ceasefire that went into effect last October, the IDF is still operational within this buffer zone, and any attacks on Israeli troops are answered by the IDF with military strikes. So Prime Minister Netanyahu has weighed in. He says Israel has not agreed to the US Gaza plan. He said that there's no way we're going to agree to it until Hamas is disarmed. And again, I stress, we mean disarmed is disarmed. No warehousing, no other compromises. Disarmed means disarmed. In a video message, the Prime Minister said the Trump administration have sent us a draft. They think they can get Hamas to disarm. We are looking into that. They sent a draft, but we have not agreed to it. In fact, we sent back our comments. And I would be very interested to read some of the comments that we would have sent back with regards to this plan. Now, the Board of Peace, which is this international body which is kind of tasked with ensuring that the 20-point ceasefire plan is implemented, they are seeking to get Israel to agree to this. And they've actually shifted their demands on Israel, saying that the terms have changed and Israel should only start to pull back from the Yellow Line only after disarmament has occurred. The original draft says that in tandem with the disarming, Israel would start to withdraw, and Israel understandably has said absolutely not going to happen. Meanwhile, there are reports that Hamas has reportedly shifted some of their most covert organizational units from Qatar, where they have set up shop, to Turkey, and this follows a crackdown by the Qataris. Now, you will notice in recent months the rhetoric coming from Turkey has been increasingly aggressive, even with threats of what in their language kind of retaking Jerusalem. The language they used was liberating. We see it as trying to colonize Jerusalem. So you can be sure that all eyes are on Turkey, watching very, very closely. It's no secret that the security establishment see Turkey as a possible growing threat in the region. From the Gaza deal, we now go to Latin America, and Israel's Foreign Minister Gideon Saar departed today for Latin America. He will visit Colombia and he will visit Ecuador. The foreign minister will represent Israel at the inauguration of the new Colombian president, President de la Espriella. Oh, I love the way it sounds, de la Espriella, where he will also hold meetings with a variety of leaders from various Latin American countries. If you recall, Colombia have changed governments. The previous government was extremely hostile towards Israel. In fact, they withdrew their ambassador and also supported South Africa's genocide case against Israel at the International Court of Justice. Well, the new president has said not only will they reopen an embassy in Jerusalem, they are also going to close their embassy in Pretoria in South Africa, and they are withdrawing their support for South Africa's trumped-up genocide case, which, by the way, South Africa has asked for an extension on until 2029. They have withdrawn their support for that case. The foreign minister will also visit Ecuador and will be the first Israeli foreign minister in 44 years to visit the South American country. And as he said before he departed, he said, "We are continuing our efforts to bring Latin America closer to Israel." Now, a couple of weeks ago, US Vice President J.D. Vance, in these extraordinary rants against Israel following the agreements, the memorandum of understanding, I would be very interested to see what's going through his head now that Iran has repeatedly violated it. But, he made these allegations, some of them absolutely conspiratorial. And one of the allegations that he made was for Israel not to criticize the United States because they're the only friend left in the world. Well, it's very, very evident from our bilateral ties with more and more countries in Africa, growing ties in South America, in Asia, especially with our great ally India, that Israel is not alone. We have many, many friends around the world. We have friends in Europe as well. Israel is not isolated. So from Latin America, we go to the latest in the agreements with the US and Iran. And President Trump has said that if Iran backs out of these negotiations, they will be hit very hard. And again, he said that they have military operations prepared that are bigger than that of the opening strikes of World War II. He says, not since World War II will we see such a massive strike. He says, we hope we won't have to use it, but if we have to, we will. And again, he accused Tehran of lying, saying, they asked me for a meeting, but publicly they deny these meetings are happening. Now, the US is hoping to announce that a deal has been reached with the Iranians on the opening of the Strait of Hormuz. Iran and Oman have been in discussions around it, and there is hopes that there could be an announcement about that a little later today. However, an Iranian official has said that President Trump has an unstable personality. America cannot be trusted, and that US and Israel have violated the terms of the agreement. Now, just to clarify, Israel is not part of the memorandum of understanding. We weren't in negotiations. We didn't sign anything. We also haven't been engaged in any kind of strikes or combat with the Iranians. So I would sit down and hold my mouth if I were you, Iranian officials, because Israel has not participated in any way. So sit down and be quiet. And the United Nations have also weighed in, saying they are very, very concerned at the surge of executions that are taking place in Iran. Well, Mazel Tov, it's about time you said something. And as for the rest of the world leaders and the media and everybody, where are you? Why are you silent when the persecution of Iranians continues to happen? Maybe turn your focus from here to Iran. And finally, I don't think any of us can get through this without a lump in our throats and an absolute broken heart. But today would have been the 7th birthday of little Ariel Bibas. I don't think a day goes by where we in Israel and so many of you around the world don't think of the beautiful Shiri Bibas cradling her terrified little boys with their magnificent copper hair, little Ariel, who would have turned 7 today, and his baby brother Kfir, who was just 9 months old when he was kidnapped. The family were kidnapped on the 7th of October from the kibbutz of Nir Oz, and the father Yarden was taken separately. He was returned in the hostage exchanges or the hostage prisoner exchanges last year. I don't think any of us will forget the horrendous day where we received back the bodies of the 2 beautiful babies, and who we thought was the mother Shiri. It wasn't Shiri, it was a random Palestinian woman whose body was just thrown in a casket, and we waited until we received Shiri's remains back, and the 3 of them were buried in near Oz. And I don't think any of us will forget how heartbroken we were that day, how Israelis lined every inch of that funeral procession. And I know so many of us think about Yarden, how he is getting through every single day. He has moved up to his family in the north of Israel. We don't hear too much from him. Every now and then when there is a dedication in the name of his family, we will see him, but understandably he keeps very much out of the public eye. And the images of Shiri cradling her 2 beautiful little boys, Ariel and Kfir, and the horrendous way we received them back in those grotesque hostage release ceremonies, I think is engraved forever in our souls. And Ariel, happy heavenly birthday, sweet little angel boy. May you be wrapped in love in the special place that only the truly remarkable and the angels hold. May your memory and that of your mommy, Shiri, your baby brother, Kfir, and all who were murdered on the 7th of October and in captivity, may they forever be a blessing. So with that said, guys, let's take a look at the 3 audience questions. Wow. Okay, so we're going to begin with a question from Gail Evans in Johannesburg, who asks, why is Sarah Netanyahu always in meetings with the Prime Minister Netanyahu? From my understanding, people don't like that. Well, it is not a popular thing in Israel. There is no reason why the spouse of the Prime Minister should be present in these important meetings, these high security meetings. And there's actually no explanation for it other than the Prime Minister seems to want her in the room. It is not looked upon favorably by Israelis. Many of us are asking the same question, Gail, but there is absolutely no reason for her, no official reason for her, other than that's what the Prime Minister wants, for her to be in these high security briefings. Austin Gibbs, also from Johannesburg, has a question. He says, with military ops in Lebanon, is Operation Good Fence still happening? Okay, so Austin, I think the military operation that you're thinking of, Operation Good Neighbor, That had nothing to do with Lebanon. In fact, there's no sort of humanitarian mission between Israel and Lebanon at the moment. But the operation you are thinking of is Operation Good Neighbor. And that took place during the Syrian civil war, where our IDF soldiers, under great danger to themselves, would bring Syrians into Israel for medical treatment. And that carried on for several years. And thousands of Syrians received care, they received life-saving treatment in Israeli hospitals. You can read the brilliant book by Lieutenant Colonel Ariel called Embracing Your Neighbor, or Embracing the Enemy rather. It's a brilliant book. He was the commander of Operation Good Neighbor, and he goes into detail about how it came about, how it was carried out. And if you want, you can also read about it on our Lotl website. We have an article. I had the privilege of interviewing Lieutenant Colonel Dror several years ago, and that is up on our website. But just to clarify, Austin, it wasn't with Lebanon, it was in fact with Syria. And Bev Hoffman has an important question. She says, what is happening in the West Bank with settlers and Palestinian Christians? It doesn't look good. Okay, so there's several parts to this question I want to break down. First of all, let's look at the term settlers, because I'm very wary of using a pejorative to describe all the settlers. Yes, we have a small contingent of extremist settlers that are causing havoc in Judea and Samaria, or what many people know as the West Bank. They have been attacking Palestinian homes and fields, and they've been creating havoc for our soldiers trying to enforce law. But there are many different kinds of settlers, and many settlers, and again, I'm so loath to use that as a pejorative, live quite happily with their Palestinian neighbors. Now let's take a look at the situation for Palestinian Christians. And I want to be very clear. Israeli settlers, including the extremists, are not attacking Palestinian Christians. In fact, the numbers of Palestinian Christians have dwindled significantly since Israel doesn't have all that much control, since the Oslo Accord, since Israel doesn't have that much control in areas in the West Bank. Under the Palestinian Authority, the number of Christians in the West Bank, especially in cities like Bethlehem, have dwindled to almost nothing due to intimidation and threats from other Palestinians. Whereas in Israel, the population of Christians in Israel, what we call Israel proper, has increased. So I want to make that very clear. But yeah, it is a concern with what is happening with extremist, and again, I hate that word, settlers. It is an issue that many have raised with the government. The Prime Minister let it slip that he did refer to them as a cancer. We know that there are also elements of this current administration that are largely supportive of their actions, which is not viewed favorably by the vast majority of Israelis. But we're in an election year, so let's see what happens on the 27th of October. So guys, I hope I answered those questions, and Kathy, I haven't forgotten about yours. So with that said, that's it from me for today. Don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. Our YouTube channel is at the Israel Brief. Please like, share, subscribe, view. You guys know what to do. We're on Substack and on LinkedIn at Rolene Marks. We're on Instagram at Rolene_Marks, and we are on X at Rollmarks and rorosrantings.wordpress.com. So, Neshikot, big kisses from me to you, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.